Welcome to Women's Million Dollar Conversations with Alice Tang, where we share stories from successful businesswomen who have saved, earned, or sold over $1 million and discuss how they built their success and insights to help you achieve your goals. Now, let's join the conversation.
I am Alice Tang. I am the host of the Women's Million Dollar Conversation. Today, I'm sitting down with one of my good friends from 3 years ago. I was at her podcast, very privileged, very honored. Lead Like a Woman. We are sitting in front of Andrea Heuston. If you don't know her, I can change that because we're 2 degrees of separation. You probably see her stuff around you if you pay attention. So here I am welcoming Andrea. Could you tell us a little bit about you, what you're doing in the past, and what made you do what you do today?
Sure. So, you know what? I've owned a company for 29 years this year. So I don't remember much of what I did in the past. I lie. I do remember starting my company. And I remember before that, I worked for an engineering firm and I had worked my way up to become the manager of the creative services department. I was creative services director and I got laid off.
Oh,
Well, first they made me lay off my entire team. The next day they called me in and laid me off. 2 days later, they called me and asked me to come back because they've made a mistake. And so that afternoon, I drove myself to the state capitol and I got myself a business license. Yes, this was pre-internet. That's how long ago it was. But I got myself a business license. I called them back the next day and I said, sure, I'll come back, but you'll be paying me through my company called Artitudes Design, which has been rebranded a few times and now we're just Artitudes.
yay.
Yeah, I think it's great. I've been doing it for 29 years and there's always ups and downs when you are an entrepreneur, but it's been more fun than not.
That's beautiful. So our guests always become our role model. Everybody can connect and relate to somebody else. And you're one of those people who got a layoff letter or
In-person
information
conversation, yes.
notification. And then you said, you know what? You changed the game and I changed the game too.
That's right. I decided right then no one was going to control my destiny but me.
Ooh, no one is going to control my destiny but yourself. That's
That's
it.
right.
We owned it. We owned it to ourselves.
Absolutely.
What is the value of money for you? Or maybe a little story about the first memory of money?
Oh, so I do have a lot of memories around money growing up. I grew up in a family where that was a taboo word. We did not discuss money. We didn't talk about it. We didn't know anything about what my parents made until my father was laid off in the mid 1980s. But the 80s were big for layoffs. He worked in banking and he was laid off from a very large bank. And that was the first time that I really realized what a lack of money can do. And a lack of money and the stress that it caused my parents and the fights that it caused. So money was always taboo. But at that point, money became the root of all evil. It became what caused the friction in my family. Now, before that, I would tell you my older brother, and I started doing chores at the age of 4. Yes, parents out there, we used to do chores at the age of 4, but I had to set the table, and my brother and I had to clear the table at night. These were some of our chores, and we got a quarter every week. So that shiny quarter was really important to us because it was what made the world go round. It was that, oh, I could put this in something and get something back. Or back then it was penny gum machines and things like that. And a phone call was 10 cents. So a quarter went a long ways.
Beautiful. So, what do you say your value of money is?
Aha. So I don't think money does anything to me. I'm going to say it doesn't do anything to me. However, money is a catalyst for creating joy for myself and others, but it also creates security and it also creates time because time is more valuable to me nowadays as I'm older and my children are older. In fact, they're young adults. And I will tell you, this conversation is very, very timely because my word for 2024 is profit. And the reason I chose the word of profit is because I would like to do more giving back. So the more money I earn, the more I can create joy for others and thus for myself as well.
Oh, I love it. It's create joy, create security, and create time for yourself. Because if money can buy time, how nice. How
Absolutely.
nice. You can have the bigger capacity to give to the causes that is so dear to your heart. And I
Yes.
know there are many. So getting ready for our first million conversations, the first threshold. So from your beginning of getting your business license from the state capital to when you get to your $1 million revenue, how long does it take?
Okay, so let me say I was the sole proprietor for a long time, which means I was just working for myself, but I had a business license. Now, I will tell you, I got in trouble with the IRS because I was a contractor hiring contractors, and I did not know what I did not know. I had no idea. So I ended up paying fees and fines and lawyers' fees and finally incorporated, and that took me 10 years. But at that 10-year mark, and I probably made it before then, but I didn't track it very well. But at that 10-year mark, when I incorporated the company, it took a little over a year and a half before we hit $1 million. And it felt so good because we were tracking things and we watched the money come in. We had a party. We literally had a party in the office. So there was champagne, there were treats. It was brilliant. And it made me feel very accomplished because before that time, I didn't believe I could do it.
Ooh. So I'm going to do a mini recap here. So it took 10 years plus 1.5 years to get there.
Yes.
The first
I
10
believe.
years is fixing the things that we don't know. So we don't know what we don't know that hurts us.
Yes, exactly.
But then from then, once you know, once you fix, you start from that point. It takes you literally like 1.5 years to.
Yeah. At that point, I got money management software as well. And so I was able to really, really look at things and really drill down into what it meant. Super valuable.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And then you did take pauses because you said you had party to celebrate, right?
Of course.
Pause and smell the roses because
That's
so many
right.
times we set the next goal,
Yeah.
which some of our guests, not all, would say that, well, I forgot what happened after the first million. When was it? Now we're at 10 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And they never stop and smell the roses. That's like, where is life? Life is about being present.
And
Right
celebrating your successes.
here.
And frankly, celebrating your failures as well, because that's where you learn. So I believe in celebration.
And you believe in celebration. Oh, then I can see that there's lots of parties at your home or in your
Lots of parties,
office in
lots of
Seattle.
fun. That's right.
What is the biggest bias running towards that first million, other than figuring out IRS, what do they need? How should I structure my 1099 worker, sole proprietorship, and all these crazy? Other than that.
I grew up in a very, very right-wing conservative Christian family in the 1970s. So all the way as far right as you can go. And the belief that I grew up with from my family, my father, but my family and the church was that women should be wives and mothers. That was it. Women made the potluck dinners for the church. Women did not work. And women, if they did work, they could be a teacher. That was okay. And sometimes a secretary and maybe a nurse, but that was it. That was all that was permissible. So the bias that I faced was both from that pressure growing up, but also because I was a woman and I knew it. And it took me a while because I was dealing, like I said, I'm a little older and I was dealing with people like my father, the men in suits when I entered the workforce. So it was the men in the three-piece suits and they had the tie on to prove it. And so I really, really had to focus on being the best at what I did. Now, I want to tell you the other bias that I face a little bit because, let's see, the word is not stubborn. The word is tenacious. I am tenacious and I will stand up for myself and for others. And that's not what women were supposed to do, but that was also not how to get ahead. And so I faced the bias of what other people thought that somebody in business should be. And I wasn't necessarily. And it took me years to say, it's none of my business what other people think of me.
Yeah, you know what? You really hit a chord here. I had goosebumps in my body. And I just feel that you're so right. But at times I fall into the trap too. I mean, 85% of the population at any one time, okay, so we do a scan of the population of USA, struggles with self-worth.
They do, don't they?
No matter how we both are.
Well, imposter syndrome is a thing. I will say. And it's something that I struggled with for many, many years. And I likely still struggle with it in some ways because we all have the little voice in our head. Now, I really focus on it and tell it to go away because I do believe in myself and I believe in my own worth as well. But I also believe that every other woman out there is worthy. They are enough as well.
That's right. You're absolutely right. Now, for our audience who really can look at Andrea, you, and say, I can totally relate to her. And she just gave me hope that this is possible for me. Negative net worth or 200,000 to get to the $1 million net worth. Maybe it take me a little longer, a little shorter. Her story is compelling. What is your advice to them?
My very first piece of advice that I give any other woman who's looking to reach that goal is to gather your tribe. Now, I know tribe is a taboo word, but you gather those people around you that will help you get there. You don't ever want to be the smartest person in the room. And if you think you are, you're in the wrong room. So gather those people. And those people that I advise, and I mentor women who are starting businesses and who are trying to make that mark. Those people are a CPA, a bookkeeper, very different things. They're not the same. I want you to get a CPA, a bookkeeper. I want you to get a lawyer. I want you to get a business coach because you don't know what you don't know. Right? You just don't. So far you've got a CPA, a bookkeeper, a lawyer, a business coach, and you must have a friend who you trust implicitly, whose shoulder you can cry on. Because when you are running a company, you do not have a peer within that company. Your partner isn't your peer in that. Your employees are not your peers. You have to have a friend that you can really, really just be honest with. So that's my biggest piece of advice. The other piece of advice that I really, really do believe is you must learn to be risk tolerant. If you are not risk tolerant, you are not taking enough risk to get there. Because in order to make that $1 million mark, you have to take risk.
What's an example, maybe a short example about how you take a risk?
I am the woman who will jump off the top of a building and I'll grow wings before I hit the ground. So for me, risk is a given. It's part of who I am. So it's hard for me to identify those moments, but I've started 3 other companies along the way. 2 of them haven't made it. One, we sold off the assets. I actually have Artitudes, but I also have leadlikeawoman.biz that is turning into a business. So the risk is you look at an idea and you say, I think I can make this work. It doesn't mean you know you can make it work. It doesn't mean you have all your ducks in a row. It doesn't mean that you're ready because you are never ready. So it's a risk to jump and trust yourself to be able to do it. And you know what? If you don't, I call it failing forward. What lessons did I learn? If you are not able to tolerate that risk, you really, really can't make that $1 million mark.
I bet you anything that you visualize that success, how success looks like and sound like, and that gave you the power to just jump. I know there
It's
is a safety
true.
net down there, and of course your tribe help you, right? They may crunch the
Yes.
numbers, they may let you say, I'm not sure if this is right, but my
Right.
gut is telling me every day to do this.
Yeah, it's true. It really is. And it's hard because there are people out there who will say, nah, you can't do that. What are you thinking? Go get a job. I used to hear that. Go get a job. No, I don't want a job. I want to be an entrepreneur and I want to help other people have jobs and support their families.
Yeah, you just reminded me. In my second year, I made $8,000, and the third year, I made 30, which is unheard of exponential growth. I think between my second and the third year, one of my good friends who's in the same office quit. And she told my husband that this is a losing proposition because it didn't work for her. So my husband, being very protective and wanting to know that I didn't walk into trouble, I was already working 70 hours a week. So how much hurt can you be hurt again when you know that there is probably no results? I still remember the scene that I was crying to prove that just give me a year, another year.
There you go. And look at you now. I love it.
Well, when you're making lots of difficult decisions, there are decisions that might be super high stake. You have to go all in. And how do you make those decisions?
Oh, so I am not a data person. I'm a gut person. So number one, I trust my gut. Number two, I look at the data. So I used to just trust my gut, and that's when I got in trouble. So now I do trust that gut because I think intuition is a lost art. I think intuition is something that we have to listen to sometimes because we know our bodies, our minds, if we're in tune, we know. So I meditate as well because I like to hear my inner voice because my inner voice is usually right. However, I do look at data too because I have people in my life who are smarter than me in the areas of law, also in the area of accounting, and people like that who say, hey, you might want to look at this. I put this together for you. And that helps as well. But when the stakes are high, I trust my gut. And honestly, I do meditate. And a lot of that is taking long walks and thinking about it. I do my best thinking when I'm out walking.
So I'm hearing meditation or connecting to your authentic self. So your head and your heart are aligned with the direction you're trying to make the decision to. And then you just continue to fail forward or success forward.
I'm going to give you a quick example of that. During a presidential campaign quite a few years ago, we had a presidential candidate come to us because he was a connection of somebody who we knew, and he wanted us to do his campaign design and graphics. And I said no. The reason I did so is my gut was, first of all, telling me to, but second, it went against what I believed. And what I believed, it wasn't political in this case. For me, it was that we were never going to represent either side. We weren't going to align ourselves anywhere politically within the design world. I wasn't saying just personally, but within the design world, because we are tolerant and accepting of all people. And so it was one that I looked at because I thought this is a lot of money that could come into my company. But ultimately, I said no.
Wow, wow, that is beautiful. I'm sure in many years when you're running your business, there is sometimes that even with your good tribe, the good girlfriend with the shoulder, or the time when life is really low or business is really low and you couldn't see forward. It's so foggy. What kept you going?
So it's a roller coaster ride, let me say. And some of those highs are really high, and some of those lows are a trough that looks like it's impossible to get out of. And it's hard because sometimes you do want to quit. And sometimes the voices from other people are saying, hey, get a job. It might be a better idea. And we've gone through a lot of those. I started the business in 1995, which means we've gone through financial crises. We've gone through COVID. We went through 9/11. And what makes me keep going, first and foremost, are the people. So I feel that burden of helping these people support their families. So I care deeply about the people that I work with, employees, contractors, whatever. So that is number one for keeping me going. But number two for keeping me going is I don't want to work for anybody else. I'm going to keep going because I'm going to own my own destiny.
Very good. So I think there is really a soft spot that we're hitting right now. Is really you do care about the people around you. And in general, you care about the people. And you also care about your personal independence. You're not going to let anybody tell you what to do. I feel that those two things can be served or bought by money. Money is our slave. It's not a master, but if we can leverage and use it well to achieve those wonderful goals and teach those to people who see you in action. Because people watching, even they're not saying anything, they're watching you, how you make decisions. Beautiful. What are you grateful for today, Andrea?
I'm grateful for so many things, Alice. I'm grateful for this conversation, but I was outside walking in the fresh air earlier today. And I'm grateful that I have a body that moves, that I have lungs that work, since I was in a coma for 17 days and I lost portions of both my lungs. And I am grateful that nothing really stops me. Nothing stops forward progress. So I'm really grateful for that tenacity that I have.
Love the word tenacity.
Me too.
Thank you so much for taking the time in your precious day and business, or even protecting it for your personal life, to talk with us so that our audience can see you. Thank you for joining Women's $1 Million Conversation.
Alice, thank you so much for the opportunity. It is an honor to be on your show.
Thank you so much.